Have you thought about or ever been asked the question, how do I get to heaven? Now, depending on who you talk to, you're going to get a variety of answers. Many of the world's religions actually teach that if you do more good works than bad works, that you're going to get in. And I bet that if you were to ask some random person on the street, they might say, well, I guess as long as you're a good person. But the problem is, this isn't what the Bible teaches, and these answers leave us with more questions than they do actual concrete answers. For instance, what does it mean to be a good person? Depending on who you talk to, again, you're going to get a variety of answers. For some people, being a good person means living a good life and not committing a serious crime. For others, it means maybe working in a soup kitchen or giving to the poor. That's how you're a good person. Or even to others, as long as you give to charity, you are a good person. But then there are other questions. How do we know that we've done more good works than bad works? And aren't there some bad works that people do that are weightier and heavier than the good works that they do? All of these things leave us without really understanding what it means to be good or to know if we've lived a good life. Secondly, this is not what the Bible teaches. The Bible teaches that even our best attempts at being good fall short of God's perfect standard. Let's look at a few verses. Romans 3:12 says, "No one does good. No, not even one." And then there's Romans 3:23, which says, "For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God." In short, even the best person among us falls short of God's perfect standard. Now you might be like, wait a minute, I've been a pretty good person. I've done a lot of good things, and I remember some of those commandments that I learned in Sunday school as a kid, and I've kept most of them. Or someone else might say, hey, I know a lot of really good people, and in fact, I know a lot of good people who are better than Christians that I know. And if we were comparing ourselves to each other, that might be true. James writes in the book of James, "Whoever keeps the whole law but fails in one point has become guilty of all of it." The point? One act of disobedience in an otherwise good life. It's all it takes for us to be found guilty and worthy of punishment in the eyes of God. Think about it this way. If you worked for a company and you were one of the best employees for years, but one day you got tempted by money and you embezzled $100,000. If you go before the judge and you say, "Judge, I've been a great worker and this is the one thing that I've done wrong. Can you let me off?" Is the judge really going to let you go? No. You're going to be punished for it. If he is a good and just judge, you are going to be punished for embezzling that money. So then the question is, if one act of disobedience now means that we fall short of God's perfect standard and we deserve to be punished by God, is there any hope? And the answer is yes, there is hope. And we can find hope by trusting in Jesus Christ. As Romans 5:8 says, "But God shows his love for us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us." Here's the thing. God couldn't let our disobedience go unpunished. If he did, he wouldn't be a good God or a just judge. Someone had to face the consequences for what we've done, and that person was God's Son, Jesus Christ. God sent his Son to earth to live a perfect life, to die on the cross, to take the punishment that we deserved for all the wrong that we've done. And we can receive forgiveness by God and a forever life with God if we trust in what Jesus did on the cross. In fact, the Apostle John says in John 3:16, "For God loved the world in this way. He gave his one and only Son that everyone who believes in him will not perish, but have eternal or everlasting life. Here's the thing. Life is found in believing and trusting in Jesus. And if someone ever asks you the question, can I do enough good things to go to heaven? You're going to have to answer no. One, that person would never know if they've done enough good things, or they don't even have a good standard for what is good. And second, the Bible and only the Bible teaches that God made one and only one perfect way to be with him forever in heaven. And that's through believing in Jesus and what he did on the cross. And I want to encourage you, if you're watching this video today and you're trying to be a good person, you're trying to do enough to get to heaven, I want to encourage you to lay that burden down, to stop trying to get to God on your own, and instead believe in Jesus and what he did on the cross. Knowing that when you believe in him and you follow him, you will receive everlasting life, you will have the hope that you will be with God in heaven, and you will find in him your greatest hope, your greatest joy, and your greatest rest. As Jesus says in Matthew 11:28, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest."